Hello, this is the preliminary first an introduction to the course of a husband, course how to be a husband and a father, given by myself, Rabbi Oda Cohen Maon. After many years of experience, this introduction is very good for everyone and is directed not just at boys who are about to get married or anyone who's about to get married, any man who's about to get married. It's also directed at those people who's been married, but not exactly, meaning that they're not really so involved in their marriage as they can be. This video and all the videos that yours truly will, Bezrat Hashem, produce are only for help. They're not critical. They're not telling you off or whatever it is, God forbid, but they are instructional. The entire purpose of this course and the other materials that Bezrat Hashem, with the instruction of the Rebbe, to make people feel better and to guide them to the right place, which is, and since we are on the Parsha of Emo, the Kohanim have to do that. This is our job. Dafka, the Chesed people, have to chastise and guide the people. The guidance is all based on the Rebbe and other sources of Chassidus and Gemara and so on Torah's Israel, with practical examples and through the understanding that not everybody is perfect and not everybody could actualize and use these ideas in practical life as they would wish to. The first step, the first point that I would like to discuss is the very meaning of the word nisuin. A lot of people think that marriage is just to come together and do all kinds of things together and try to work it out. In actual fact, the whole idea of nisuin is the idea of elevation. Just like we have Parshas Nasoi, which the idea is to elevate a certain part of the tribe of Levi, there is also the entire idea of nisuin is elevation, because this whole is much greater than the sum of the parts. And having a wife is the only way a person can complete themselves, and vice versa. Unlike some kind of crooked, skewed points of view that a woman does not need a man, it's totally inaccurate. We both need each other, and therefore, as I feel it acutely every day, being a widower for over 10 years, this is a necessity for everyone, not just to grow and develop and even to simple survival. Because just to get up in the morning is not the idea for which God gave us life. So the basic idea of this course, on all of it, is not just to tell you how to be. It is not at all that. But to show you and to show myself and anyone who wishes to learn from this, the joy of being together in a nisuin. Not marriage, but a step-by-step elevation. And some people say, well, this is discussion and talk and talk. For yours truly has been, and there are people who saw us as a couple, married for 25 years. We were very good to each other, and we had a wonderful marriage, childless because she was not able to have children. Alea Shalom, and this is a place to say that dedicated to my late wife Tzipora Bas Chava, Alea Shalom. This was Lag BaOmer, our day of marriage. The whole idea, therefore, is to grow together, support each other, and through the mutual support, we get supported ourselves. Hashem took two totally different kinds of being He created and put them together. That's one of the notions which we discussed a lot. First of all, it's not accurate. Adam was created with a feminine and masculine face back to back. He was Zachar u'Nekeva Bra'am. He created them male and female together. Now, it is not more important who is more externally prominent. It's only important how people get along with each other. And no, the women are not less than men, or men are not less than women. Every person is created by unique form that Hashem put away after that. We all are unique. in nature too. If you look at the big cats, every tiger or every leopard has a very, very distinct set of stripes or dots. The same goes here. We are all equal. We are all the same by the creation. The only difference is how do we utilize our potential and all the great gifts Hashem gave us. This generation is so busy to try and feel bad because it doesn't have titles and names and is not a virtual hero. I mean, coming from Israel, I know some real heroes, not virtual ones. And the idea, therefore, that in marriage, that's where the greatness of the people comes through, even before the children are born, all the more so when they're already there. And therefore, it's important for everyone to understand this ground basics, that the first thing that God did for men is to give him the greatest gift there is, a couple, a bat zug in Lashon HaKodesh, a wife. The woman is the completion of the man, and the man is the completion of the woman. She, being more observant and more noticeable and noticing, and also having greater wisdom, given understanding, given to her by Hashem, she knows all the talents and traits and abilities her husband has, those that he himself does not know. And therefore she is the owner, so to speak, of her husband's neshama, and she can develop him. But that's only if he treats her as ke'ezer, as a help. And she gets ascended with him. That's why he calls Baal. That her ascent, or going up, that the ascent of the woman comes with her through him. The mutual work, therefore, allows for mutual elevation, both for the man and for the woman together. It does not work separately. And it's not an issue of career, and not an issue who decides what. It's an issue of happiness. Today we're so busy not being happy, but being everything else, giving ourselves all kinds of issues and ponders to make our life difficult and complex and obscure by virtuality, so people forgot how to be happy. The basic tenement, then, of Hashem's idea of marriage is that both sides elevate each other. And therefore comes one of the first points, and I think it's extremely, extremely important, the nice English word, paramount. It is paramount. I say to a lot of boys in the courses, or men maybe even older, or people who are just getting second or third time, whatever it is, sit down with a lady, and the same goes for the women, sit down and discuss what kind of a household you wish to have. Discuss the smallest details if you can. Once the decision to get married has been arrived to, it is very important for everyone and for anyone to have a clear things, to clarify things before you go finish dancing and eating the Sheva Brachos or whatever, and the door closes behind you and it's just you and her, or her and you, and things may not work out as you expected because you didn't build a proper preparation. Same goes for everything. Someone who goes for a very big exam has to prepare themselves. Someone who goes to the rest of their life to live with a woman must prepare himself to the minutest detail he can. Okay, don't ask from a young bachur what you do know in a latter age, know even to ask. Bachurim don't know to ask. Therefore, this course is offered to them. It's a very extensive, deep, profound course about what is the relationship between a man and a woman, what is a woman, how to deal with her, how to care for her, and how to enjoy all the care she gives you. There is nothing better for a man than a supporting, loving wife who, in turn, could be elevated to her great level, to whatever talents and traits and abilities she has, by his being solid on the ground. It is not a competition who's better and who's stronger. Today, with our unfortunate, miserable world, sorry to say that it is, the pandemic, the real pandemic is solitude and loneliness, is that we are not busy being ourselves, but we are some kinds of imitation of something else. Career, at least the way it's written in Lashon HaKodesh in Hebrew, has the word kar in it. People are cold, people aloof, people are so busy running after themselves, they don't have a chance to enjoy all the gifts Hashem gives us, which are spiritual gifts. So the first step in marriage is the prenuptial understandings, not agreement. If you do this, you'll pay me that. If I do this, I'll pay you that. That's a cold, non-Jewish idea. But the prenuptial understandings give you a very mundane, to some men minute example. How should you leave the seat of the toilet when you leave the washroom? Sounds stupid. It isn't. Ask her. Don't decide what she likes. In everything, whatever it is, find out what your wife to be, or your wife currently now, what she doesn't like, and don't do it. It's almost as important, or maybe even more important, than doing what she likes. Make sure you don't upset her. And why? Because the precondition for marriage to be successful, to be a nisuin, a mutual elevation, is to understand the structure of the other person. And the structure of a woman is emotional. Because, as Chassidus explains, she comes from Sfiras HaMalchus, and that's why they're prettier than us, and because the root is in Keser, and therefore, since Malchus is constructed from the fire of Gruvuros, yes, fire, as the name woman, Isha, indicates, it's direct fire, the hay is in the end, whereas Ish, man, the Yud separates the Aleph and the Shin of the fire, and therefore we, in generally speaking, are more balanced emotionally, and we're more intellectual, and sometimes too cold. So the first and most important idea, the first approach, the first thing to do is make sure you don't upset her. Women are sensitive, and that's their beauty, and that's their power. They're sensitive, they're kind, they're pleasant. They can cause and bring you up to the highest level, but make sure, do not make her upset. First and foremost, because it hurts her. And when she's hurt, it hurts the entire personality. Because feeling, emotions, regesh, unlike intellect, is like steam. It fills up the entire woman. Her whole being is in that emotion that she is at that moment. And therefore one should be using one of the most important tools of the Torah. It is preventative mode. This is a precondition to a self-elevation with her. And when she doesn't want you to do something, try to avoid doing it. And when she asks you to go with her somewhere, don't decide just to live. Why am I saying it so early? Because I see that this disastrous results of selfishness of too many men, too busy with themselves, and they're too busy with their nonsense, sorry to say that they don't notice that they're just basically semi or fully killing the woman next to them. The idea, therefore, of nisuin, which is the basic idea of God, how marriage should look, is to make sure that the woman feels comfortable so she can give you the guidance and the directiveness you need. Nothing is one-sided. The same goes for women. Women also have to open their minds and hearts and see what is happening to the men. Because the men's world is harsh, very, very harsh. And I don't know why women want to go to business. It never is beyond me. Haven't suffered there greatly from all the unkindness and the greed that money brings in people, out of people. Then a man's world could be very harsh. And a woman has to understand that her husband may be going through difficulties in his surroundings, of all the competition, the frictions between him and other men. So therefore, when we start this course, and we will go into our various subjects in the separate videos for each topic, we are dealing with the first and foremost basic idea of mutual elevation. And that is a spiritual concept, not a physical one. This course is divided into four main subjects. First, communication. Men must learn how to speak to a woman. You don't bark at her. You don't just say, yeah, I told you so. Okay, I love you. Don't, it's okay. All right, I said that 20 times before. It doesn't work that way. Because the idea of being married for a man is to raise the level of sensitivity and kindness within him. And a woman needs to hear that you heard her. The communication both ways must work on the mutual understanding which can be developed over the years. My late wife Tzipora was a very intelligent woman, and she used to say that it should not be in English marriage, but marrying, or present progressive, that goes on and on, because marriage evolves all the time, if we let it. So the first chapter in the course is communication. It deals both with what you say and how you say it, and what you don't say and how you don't say it. Furthermore, beyond this, it is also the other side of communication. This discussion is directed mainly at men. That's the listening part. Do not ignore your wife. When she talks to you, listen to her. You might find wonderful things. And besides, most of the time when women talk to their husbands, it's just to express their connection to him. Or if there's a stress, to let go of anxiety. Because when a woman feels stressed, it's a steam, as we said before, building up in her, and she needs some support, emotional support, to let it out. And if she feels strained, especially in a certain time of the month, and she feels upset and stressed, don't ignore it. Make an effort to make her feel good. You as a listener, which men are not very good at, have to work on it. This is one of the most important keys and one of the most important issues in marriage that will make your marriage work. Learn to listen. And also, when there are differences of opinions, which is only natural, let her express herself. And make sure that she knows that you heard her and that you will be willing to do what she wants, even if your opinion is different. Because for you it may not be so important, but for her, being a woman, it may be very important emotionally, especially when it's concerning the household or something that she wanted to do with her friends or whatever it is. And therefore, when there is an issue that makes her stressed, listen to her. Learn to listen. Because when you go to shiurim, if you don't listen, what are you going to shiurim for? Therefore, listening is the key in your side of hearing. When you speak, remember who you're speaking to. This will be based on the Hasidic idiom, Hakol lefi hamekabel, everything is according to the recipient, meaning to the ears to which your words go into. And another example in this communication is the usage of time. Always announce to your wife where you are and what you do in order not to make her worry. If she says it's okay, I'm fine, you don't have to repeat. That leads me to the next subject. They're all intertwined naturally. The usage of time. No question that a Jewish man must learn. He has to learn. No question that he has to work and get parnasa the best he can, combined with the learning. But that does not make her last on the list or out of the list altogether. Because when hobbies comes in, such as bicycling, playing sports, shtussim with your friend, sitting in 770 for hours, that's not the part of the responsibilities of a man in a Jewish marriage. 770 is extremely important, but only as a point where you get hooked to supposedly the wall of Kedusha and the Rebbe and get stronger and go back to your premises and have a good life. And also, time usage is to be discussed. In other words, don't make decisions on your own. When she says, okay, it's fine with me, you can go this, it's fine, okay, then it's fine. But there has to be a discussion and a regular upkeep of each other. Today, people are so separate and they run away from themselves and from each other. I used to call someone, not naming names, and his wife says, I don't know where he's, maybe he's here, maybe not. I don't think it's the best idea. The best idea is, okay, a man has to run around, and sometimes a woman too. However, stay in touch, both on the communication issue and both on time. Time, once is discussed and understood between the partners on an ongoing, regular basis, will not lead to gaps and sorrow and pain. The third topic is use of finances, monetary issues. That topic is based on the Hasidic idiom of the Alter Rebbe that asur asur v'mutar miyutar. That which is prohibited. That which is permissible is not necessary. In other words, we waste so much money buying things we do not need. And we buy them and sometimes we leave them unused forevermore. So when decisions to purchase come, such as an essential car, make sure you don't spend too much. I say around me, everywhere, whether it was in Israel or here in North America, extravaganza. People drive expensive Jeeps they don't need. We're not 14-year-old goyim trying to impress ourselves with an expensive car, even if it's on payments. It's an excess. Excess is not good for the soul. And it's expenditure of money that may hurt you in the long run when things don't work out, like it happened to so many of us as a result of the so-called corona epidemic. Buy a car, a good car, but in reasonable price. Because otherwise, even if you're very wealthy, excess is never good, especially not for a Hasidic soul. And it goes for everything. If you buy too many toys for the children and you fill up the house with plastic that gets used very little, if at all, it is also another thing which is not good. Don't soothe your child with purchasing. Give him yourself. It's a known story about a son of a very wealthy, I don't know his name, was Jewish businessman in California, in Los Angeles. Maybe it was even in Hollywood, Beverly Hills, or whatever this place is called, Beverly Hills. Anyways, the son was so desperate, he picked up the phone, called his father's office, and he says he asked him for an appointment with him. His father asked and says, Dad, how much is an hour with you? $1,000. I'll pay you. Just spend some time with me. Fortunately for him, the man understood the message. He said, oh, that's it. You're right. And he started curbing the time in the office and sitting with his rich millionaire friends, wherever they were sitting. Started showing up at home at 5:30, and he was the happiest man in the world. He was still very rich, but he said, I became the richest person. I had a family. It goes for everyone. So many people say, I got to run to Jew, spend so much time in the office. My friends, Hashem provides money. Not you. You don't sign any checks. It's an illusion. So you do what you need to do in the realms of a husband and a family. And the time you spend in the Gashmi world will be used better by Hashem. That's the way He rewards us. Yes, you gotta work. Nobody says you shouldn't, but the way you treat the work is the issue. So that's the other part of asur v'mutar miyutar. That which is prohibited, and that which is not necessary, even though it's permissible. So don't put the office and work and chatting with friends and orders and clients before your family. And don't become a profession. Remain a human being. I asked someone, who are you? He said, I'm a lawyer. I said, no, my friend, you're a Jew practicing law. Don't get lost in the business. Not for your own sake and not for your wife's sake. And if there are children involved, not for their sake as well. The latter and the last part of this course, which is extremely important, and in the words of the Midrash, it brings peace, is intimacy, marital relations. That part, I will not do this in an introductional video, but only to people either married or have committed to get married. In that chapter will be, of course, separate and discussed with those people in a pertinent and correct time. But it suffices to say that it is part of what the man is obliging themselves in the ketubah. A woman, just to explain in a very basic way, has a need. That's her need, is to fulfill her job in this world, not as an executive of some nonsensical company, but to bring in and usher in and give birth to the new generation and raise them, which we'll get to that too. And therefore it is extremely important that the man will develop sensitivity to his woman, to his wife in that area. I was stopped somewhere by a religious guy who was half in tears. His wife was nearing 30 and she wanted to be more active. I said, Tipesh, Petach, why are you crying out loud? Half of the world would be happy to replace you. And is the upshot of it all, the point is that it says in the Torah, Vayares Yitzchak u'metzacheket Rivka ishto, Avimelech saw Yitzchak and Rivka, of course not fully, having fun, laughing with each other. That's how marital relations should be, and that's how it should be expressed. It takes time. All the above subjects and all the idea of marital marriage, nisuin, as a mutual elevation take time, but they're worth it. Therefore, this course is going to be very thorough, Be'ezras Hashem, very deep, and will require a lot of attention. Be'ezras Hashem, we will reach many, many people and will help a lot of households correct the sadness into happiness, and the marriage or zugiyut into nisuin.